This is the Extensionists, Conversations with Great Thinkers in Agriculture. I'm Toban Dyck.
And I'm Jay Whetter. Hey, Toban.
Hey, Jay.
Trying to keep it professional.
That's good. How's that working for you?
Lifelong
so
quest.
listeners, we're just coming off of a fairly serious laugh fest here in the studio, so we're trying to kind of get our bearings for this recording.
Yeah.
So without going into detail about what we were laughing at, today's episode is all about the highlights of the season. So I obviously brought out the best in us because we were just laughing. We're in a good mood. Talking about the great interviews we've had.
Yeah.
So, what were they, Jay? What were your?
Oh,
so
what?
So this
Putting me on the spot.
This is a really hard one.
Things come. Okay, well,
because it's hard for us to remember all of the great things. We know we've had amazing conversations. That is full stop the truth. It is hard. It's hard to figure.
It's hard to remember them.
Yes,
but I would say the one that stands out for me, because I reference it all the time, was Yolanda Jensen, which was actually the first episode of season 2, way back a long time ago in October, I think. And she was just a steady stream of really good practical tips. And was it because she's from the Netherlands and brings a different perspective? That's possible. But she also has made a career out of extension and the practice of extension. She just opened my eyes to a whole bunch of interesting practices, which we'll talk about shortly as we discuss some of the highlights from the year. Yeah. How about you? What was any standouts for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably same with you. There's been many, but one that stands out, maybe because it's a fairly recent one for us, is in the Dean Jenkinson episode when he talks about practicing. But practicing correctly, because I've gone off about practicing a lot, right? I talk about the importance of it, but the fact that if you're practicing the wrong thing over and over again, that's not beneficial. So it's not practice in and of itself that has the value, right? You have to be practicing the right thing. So I think having a comedian on our show was a departure and a really refreshing one, and be that specific takeaway.
Well, I think between Dean and Owen Roberts, who was in and around like the last part of the season, talking about Owen was talking. My takeaway from Owen was when he talked about the value of public speaking, which is kind of a lost art, but it's still in-person, face-to-face presentation where you are engaging with the audience and not leaning so much on slides. I think PowerPoint has been a nice program, but in some ways it has destroyed the skill of public speaking. And we need to remember that maybe it's not all about the slides. Yeah. And then so Dean, to tie that in together. So Dean, as a comedian, I mean, that's your life is public speaking and connecting with the audience. And through comedy, you're often giving them something to take away and think about. And
for sure. Yeah. And let me just say, you look at a season of our conversations with people who are professionals in extension and in variety of ways. Like it is just a wealth of information and content, and that has nothing to do with us, right? I mean, these are just people who have devoted their lives, their professional lives, to the study of this in many cases, and like there's so many excellent models out there or resources in these people for how to do it better.
You could write a book.
One could write a book.
I just read How to Talk Like Ted by Carmine Gallo. Yeah, basically it's a book about TED Talks, things he learned because he's involved with TED. So things he learned from TED Talks, and then how he learned presentation skills from TED Talks. And so I think one could write a book about extension skills learned from the Extensionist podcast.
That's a great idea. Should we start a TED? Should the Extensionists do a TED Talk?
Yeah. You should.
Yeah. You should. I like that.
All right. Shall we get on with our year in review?
Let's do it.
Right on. Do you like what you're hearing and want to support the Extensionists? If you are an agriculture company or association looking for a powerful way to get your message in front of Canadian farmers, then partner with us. Our listeners are farmers from coast to coast.
When you advertise with us, your brand isn't just another commercial break. It becomes part of our story. Ads on the Extensionists are personal and trusted. Our listeners value what they hear on the podcast.
Whether you're looking for a 60-second ad somewhere throughout the podcast or even an exclusive episode sponsorship, we have options that will work for you.
So if you're ready to get your message out there and connect with farmers across Canada, let's talk. Visit theextensionists.com for more information.
All right, our guest today is Jolanda Jansen, and Jolanda is a communications consultant and co-owner of St. Anna Advice.
What happens in our brain is that if you look at this from a social science point of view, we know we have three basic needs. So we have a need for competence, we have a need for relatedness, and we have a need for autonomy. So if you say to a farmer, you do this wrong, or this could be improved, or we did a checklist and, these are your critical control points. In our brain, that works as you make me feel less competent. So what you're actually telling me is I'm not a competent farmer. I'm in this business for 30, I'm in this family farm. I already do this for 20 years, but now you're going to tell me that I do this wrong. So even if they would agree with you, somewhere in their brains, it's like with all quality schemes, it's continuously telling me you're not competent.
That chat with Jolanda was a big highlight for us this season. Now let's pivot to Jay and my reflection on why that lesson on competence and empathy was so pivotal.
So I like Yolanda's, sorry, I just gave you a little tap there. But Yolanda was talking about oh shoot, now I don't know what I was going to tell you. But just on that note about the competence and the motivational interviewing. That's just what I was going to say.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about this quite a bit.
We do, yeah. But so rather than saying, you've been doing this for 20 years, but there's a better way to do it. And so then the impression is, well, you're telling me I've been doing it wrong all this time. But the motivational interviewing was like, okay, like this is, how is your year? Anything you'd want to do differently? Any challenges? And then you kind of get at what the farmers need to change is. Like what is their motivation to change? And then you think, okay, well, let's talk about that. And then you kind of get into it that way rather than saying, oh yeah, you're doing this wrong and you've been doing it wrong for 20 years or 30 or whatever.
What struck me watching this again, especially after we've kind of done stuff with this content like since this episode, right? We reference it quite a bit in our training and talk about it a lot, is how much of our current communications to farmers and in general is kind of predicated on like this idea of that the receiver doesn't know, like, or is incompetent, right? Right? Or like how much of it comes across that way, and how many audiences are shut down just because that's the tone that's the tone of lots of the communications that come their way. Right?
Yeah, and totally. I mean, it seems obvious when she says it out loud.
Yes. And
you realize, yeah, of course. I mean, why? What other way would you do it? And you're like, okay, no, because that is actually not how extension has typically worked.
Well, no, and I mean, like communication is like, I mean, we all communicate on a regular basis throughout our day, right? How often do we actually think about, like, take the time to think about how could this be received in such a way that the person thinks they're incompetent, right?
Yeah.
If they're, if I say this to them, right? I don't know.
Well, I just think about like with canola and harvest losses, and we keep, talking to farmers about checking behind the combine for harvest loss and doing it multiple times and shutting down the combine and doing the stuff that nobody actually really wants to do. It's like, okay, is the problem that the farmers aren't doing it, or is it the problem that we're encouraging them to do a practice that actually nobody really actually wants to do?
Yeah, that's just not feasible, right? You got to find a better approach, right?
Yeah, that's right. Oh man,
no, that was a really good one, and a good. Was that our first guest?
Yeah, First
yeah.
guest of season 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
No,
was a
that
great
was-
way to start the season.
For sure. And it was always fascinating, like for Yolanda's situation, and most of our guests' situation, like how much time they spend thinking about this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is like their
Yeah.
their profession. They think about it. They think about it all the time, how to communicate and the science behind it.
Before we leave Yolanda, though, I need to quickly recap the pizza thing, because you asked
Pizza-
that
pizza
question
and fries.
right off. Yeah.
Oh, because she's a ski instructor.
Yeah.
That's
so,
right.
Like that. So this you're like the breaking pizza. Come on, what's wrong with you kids?
Yeah.
And she says, "Oh, yeah, actually, pizza. People think of pizza as being round, like it. So when you tell people to put their skis into, like, to slow down into the shape of a
Yes,
pizza,
that's right.
They're
That's
like,
right.
pizza, like how do I make my skis into this
That's
round
right.
shape?
That's right.
There's like
That's right.
stuff that you assume is like people are getting.
Yes.
It's obvious. The pizza is shaped like a triangle.
Yeah.
You're like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. I'd forgotten about that. Yeah. That's awesome.
We've got Rupp Caraveau, who's a professor in the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering at the University of Windsor, and also co-director of Ag U Win.
Academics have, in some places and some cases, earned a reputation for what I think is really a smash and grab collaboration style. I never acted this way because I guess I just always wanted to help make the people happy, make the relationship better. To me, relationships are way bigger than projects, right? Because you have to live with yourself, right? So, but I know that they have in many cases, farmers in particular, academics will go out and be like, "Oh, I understand you have this issue with your water or your pest management or fuel efficiency. Give us all your data, and we'll work on something for you."
Rupp's point about prioritizing relationships over projects really hit home. Here is Jay in my discussion on why that mindset shift is so difficult to execute.
A good point. I mean, and so many researchers are trying to create relationships with farmers, but they just want to jump in, do some testing, get out.
Yeah.
And probably like Rupp was saying, working on that relationship, and then it could be something that you could have for your whole 30-year career. It would sure make field studies a lot easier. But what I really,
so valuable.
Yeah, what I really liked about, I gave you the old shoulder tap again. That's 2 for 2.
Good.
Give
you a Charlie horse at some point or something.
all the calloused. Yeah. But Rupp was talking about this, the relationship, that network that he had with it was farmers around the Windsor area.
Yeah.
And it was greenhouses, and just having this tight relationship with the farmers and the researchers in this network.
Yes.
And
yes.
I really like that idea. I think a lot of universities would probably borrow that, where the farmers feel like they're part of something bigger than just like a one-off study.
I wonder how, like, it would be interesting to chat with him more about how long, and maybe we did in that episode, how long it took to build that model, because it's one thing to talk about it and talk about it as a good model, and it's intuitively a really good model. Like, you're not going to look at that and think, oh, what a waste of time.
Yeah.
But I imagine the hard part of that was how long it took to establish that.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's not like, hey, we're going to start this and it's going to be even this calendar year.
Right.
Like, it's going to take, and for something like that, like, how many challenges were there along the way where it's like, this isn't working.
Yeah.
This isn't going to happen. This isn't going as I thought. But then all of a sudden, over time, it just, like, I don't know, that's the trajectory I have in my head of something like that, because it's so valuable and long term that it probably took a big commitment, a bigger commitment than we realize. And we talked about this with him. he was very modest, right?
Yeah.
Because he was basically the guy who did it,
Yeah.
like who made it happen.
And had that vision and
Yeah.
stuck with it, like you said, for as long as it took. But he
Yes.
knew that this was the right way to go. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he wasn't willing to kind of go there with us, which speaks highly for him. But
Yeah, that's right.
but
Yeah.
certainly came out that he was phenomenal. Kind of like a living labs, hey?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've looked into the Manitoba Living Lab a little bit. I just don't think the Living Lab's ever got the farmer buy-in that it was hoping to have.
Right. Yeah.
So the concept was there,
Mm-hmm.
the researchers were on board, but did they ever get that critical mass of farmers? And then what often happens, and this is maybe what Roop's doing that's different, is that there's a longer term vision. Often in government funding, it's 5-year blocks,
Yeah,
and then we'll
right.
reevaluate.
Yeah.
And there's no we need to keep this going for 25 years. Let's fund it for 25 years.
Yeah. And I imagine too, like across, because Living Labs rolled out across Canada. I imagine in some areas it worked better than others because it is so relationship driven, right?
Mhm.
So it'll be personalities.
Yeah. Well,
you can build the model as but still people who have to do it.
and Roop's a classic example of the personality driving the project.
Yeah.
He knew this had to happen, and he was at the core of it, even though it was
Yeah.
a bunch of researchers, a bunch of farmers.
Yeah.
They were the network, but he was that one leader who made it happen, which is often essential.
And so like underappreciated, right? Like you just said, like if he loses passion for it, it's
Yeah.
dead in the water, right? So you like every day, even the days like you feel like crap, you
Yeah.
still have to go there and
Yeah.
be passionate about
Yeah.
it, right? And I could only imagine how hard that was.
Our guest today is Jerry Friesen. He's a farmer from near Wawanesa, Manitoba, and he's also author of a book called The Recovering Farmer, What Your Friend Did Right that day when you finally decided you wanted to talk.
He
So-
sat down with me
Yeah.
and listened.
Hmm.
He normalized and validated what I was feeling. And I've heard people say this.
What
yeah,
what does that language sound like when you normalize and validate? What did he say? Or did he say
You know,
nothing?
I get it.
Hmm.
That makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't think he even, and this is 20 years ago, I don't think he even said, well, if I had, I would do this. It was more just, yeah, I get it.
So back to my 1 in 10. You didn't need to hear from him. How can I help you?
No,
Right.
he helped me by listening.
Talking to Jerry about the art of listening was such a defining moment for us this season. Here's our reflection on why that skill is so underappreciated. Like, I mean, whatever. I think we're all guilty of this, right? Just in situations where somebody is talking, especially from the heart and from like a deeper place, there's a tendency to kind of want to help, right?
Yep.
And just say things that are helpful as opposed to just being there, right? And like, yeah, I don't know. That's underappreciated.
Well, I learned a lot from you and from Jerry listening in on that. And if you recall, Yolanda, we didn't talk about this when we talked about Yolanda, but there's that, how was this year out of 10? Like your farming year?
The 7. Yeah, right.
And then
yeah.
I thought, well, can you do that for people and how people are feeling? And say, how are you feeling out of 10?
Yeah.
And then you're like, so what can I do to make that a 3 for you? Like if it was a 2.
Yeah.
And Jerry and you both said, no, that's not the right approach. Just, it's okay to be not okay. I think that, does that sound like something you said?
No, for sure. That's where I was
Yeah.
going to go to now too. Just like that. Things can suck. And sometimes just having someone say, yeah, that really sucks.
Yeah.
And without like, but it's going to be good, but it's going to be great tomorrow. Or like
Yeah.
some sort of platitude that, I think we intuitively
Doesn't
know
help.
is BS.
Yeah.
There's something really nice about just, hey, yeah, really sucks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's great.
Hmm.
Sucks, but you know what I mean. There's something about just someone else acknowledging, validating what you. I guess maybe that's it, right? Validating what you're feeling, right? And that validation has value.
No judgment, just being there.
Yeah. And it's okay if you don't have a solution. It's okay if it, yeah. No, I liked that was a good, that was a fun conversation with Jerry. I mean, fun. It was deep, but
Yeah, it was.
but important, I should say.
Yeah. It was just a nice, good flowing conversation with, I would say, a lot of takeaways for me, for sure.
Yeah.
On the empathy front, because you know that I'm kind of into that right now.
Oh, this is the first I hear of it. But also with Jerry, so we talk a lot in the podcast. We make promises to guests. We did promise Jerry that we would golf with him.
I have that on my reminders.
Do you?
Yeah. And he's at LaSalle, so he's close for me. He's
that's
not
good.
as close for you,
but kind of. I mean, it's kind of Go to Bridges. Yeah, that would we definitely should actually.
Yeah.
And
I haven't done any golfing yet this year.
I went once. It wasn't great, but.
Our guest today is David Lazarenko, who's a partner and executive vice president of ThinkShift agency in Winnipeg. How do you take a marketing approach to extension?
So I would say, I think I mentioned this, like this idea of storytelling. So, and I don't say storytelling as in like, it's like Goldilocks. It's like, you're not making something up, but it's how you're delivering it. So I think of, when you were talking about that, I thought of Neil deGrasse Tyson right now. Talks about really complex scientific things, but he's a really good storyteller. He uses analogies. He uses different tools to tell a story to make it make sense to anyone.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same thing. Like when we talk to farmers and growers and whoever else it might be, we are talking about some complex agronomic, scientific stuff. It doesn't mean that we have to just talk about it like it's in a textbook.
Yeah.
And I think that's where marketing could come in.
David challenged us to rethink how we tell stories in science. We dug into that. Here is our conversation on why being interesting matters.
Right. The marketing approach to research communications.
And storytelling. I mean, yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's like, I do feel, to be perfectly honest, I feel like I've heard the word storytelling so much the last probably 2, 3, 4 years. Like it's been kind of just, it's the big thing, right? And I mean, not that conceptually, like what it actually is more everlasting than that phrase, but than the term. But like, yeah, I mean, making things interesting, right? Like and just I don't know. It's
I think in some ways scientific journal writing has sucked the life out of science, because it's all there's no personality allowed, there's no flourish allowed. It's just very rigid, formulaic, and that works because it's important to capture those results properly.
Yeah.
But that's the focus.
Yeah.
How many journal articles have you published? We don't care if you can actually talk about your work in a way that's interesting, or that actually might inspire someone to make the change. But as long as you've written this 20-page, well-cited, boring journal article, its job's done.
This challenge, it's interesting, right? Because it's like that format itself is associated with value, right? Like so. I think so.
Yeah,
right? So,
that's the value. It's not.
So
you don't really care if farmers actually do anything.
No, but it's that. It's looking at that thing. It's like, that thing you've created is the thing that has the value, which is the problem, right? And
because what inspires people is storytelling or taking them or I mean the marketing approach. I mean, that's not what inspires people, but that mindset of we need to actually move people or motivate people. It's not enough to do the science. In fact, if all you did was the science, then there would be no value in it. If no one's going to actually read it or take any sort of action, and you need to create this narrative that inspires.
Yeah, and I mean, for sure. Shout out to ThinkShift for valuing that and for taking the time to think about different approaches to to make these things more interesting to farmers. Absolutely, but I don't know, it's a funny thing with especially with academia, like research and like, you know, these things, these ways of communicating people learn in various university programs, right? That are very, like you said, rigid, formulaic, but it's just, I mean, we're just people, right? I
Yeah.
mean, like you like what, and the lack of introspection of like, well, what do you find interesting?
Yeah.
So that someone will write like this rigid, like academic paper that no one is going to read, but the journal of record is going to publish. So that's all you need. You're happy, right? But then you're going to go home and you're going to watch like, some sort of trashy reality TV because you like it,
Yeah.
right? How do you just spend some time thinking about that, right? Like what does that look like?
Yeah. We need a David Attenborough approach to
Yeah.
agriculture extension.
Right. So you like a certain kind of thing for entertainment, but yet you produce things that aren't even close to that. That aren't even close to entertaining. Yet you think that you know what I mean. So like the disparity between and why can't we be a bit more? I don't know.
Yeah, well, and then it's, I mean, what inspires people? Conflict or humility or admitting, you know what, we made a mistake here and we actually learned this. Or, at the end of the day, do we have a message for farmers? Well, I'm not really sure, actually, because but this is what the trends are suggesting. But we had this problem this day, and it was really funny, and and I just think let's get to know a bit about you as the researcher and some of the challenges along the way and the conflicts and how that came up with a message that might be resonating. Our guest today is Mohammed Yagi, and Mohammed is the Vice President of the Innovation Hub and Ag Expert at FCC.
But we're also accessing sources from organizations like, let's say, ARDAR, for instance. They do a lot of research. Can we provide regionally focused information to our producers using ARDAR's research? Yes. It is these partnerships that's going to help us grow, because the more partners we have across the country, the more regionally specific we can get and provide more tailored recommendations. I don't suspect large language models are ever going to replace experts. It's not what the tool was designed for. What it will provide is a first line of knowledge, and then afterwards can give farmers a sufficient base of information so that they can ask better questions. That's the way I see it going at the moment. So I don't see it, again, replacing anybody. I think it is actually going to really help enhance the experience for producers with their experts.
Mohammed gave us a great breakdown on the future of AI. Now let's get into the debate Jay and I had about whether it's a tool or a threat. So I think I love that was interesting chat for sure about AI. Yeah. What were your thoughts before I dive into my?
Well, I just think that ties in nicely with the message from David Lazarenko from earlier, was that marketing and storytelling. I mean, that then what AI does and these large language models does is then puts the onus on us to make it locally relevant or make a connection. Because the AI and the large language models, that they can pull the information and synthesize it into a paragraph or two. So you have the data, but then putting a personal face on it, which is in a way the really the key communications component is that making it relevant and putting a face on it. That's when you're going to see a difference. But the AI will be so good at synthesizing the data into quick little bites.
So I wonder about this in general. Like, so that, I mean, this was a great conversation, and it gets people thinking about AI, right? And I think people are thinking about AI right now. Yeah, I mean, his comment about it's never going to replace people. I don't know. I like the chat. It's an evolving discipline so much. Maybe even at the time of that interview, I was thinking, yeah, he's right. It's not going to replace people. But how much of that comment, and this is just a kind of a new thought, as if we're interviewing him again today, is us defending, just kind of it's kind of like us justifying our existence a little bit, or just being like being our kind of like our last kind of rebuttal against AI. It's like, yeah, it's pretty good, but it's not going to replace people. I remember taking a philosophy class in my undergrad, and it was a kind of, it was like, it's like, not, wasn't psychological. It was neurological philosophy or something like that, where it's like, are we, is there like a personhood in there? Is there something beyond just a very, very complex bunch of synaptic kind of relationships, right? And it's like, at some point you think, like, maybe not.
Are you talking about in the actual human brain?
Yeah, in the human brain. So you think, yeah, we like to think of ourselves as having some sort of, personhood or something beyond the physical, right? But maybe it isn't.
Just chemistry, or
so maybe it's just a matter of complexity. So maybe it'll get there. Like, maybe we are, like, if you think of algorithms and how well they are at advertising to you and figuring you out.
Yeah.
Like, it's eerie. So it's only going to get kind of not better, but just get more close to who we are. That I don't know if it's true.
The image that just popped into my head was the movie Castaway with Tom Hanks and his volleyball.
Wilson.
Like, yeah. So maybe we just need a volleyball with a face on it to talk to make us feel okay.
Yeah.
And AI can be the volleyball.
Yeah. But maybe we're chasing the wrong concept with AI. Maybe it's not about will it actually, replace humans. Maybe that's not the most interesting question. Maybe there's a different one we should be asking, because it probably, if the way we're treating it, it might be able to, but there still might be something that it can't do. I don't know. Just a thought exercise, an open-ended one.
It can't whack you on the shoulder. It has an idea.
That's right. It can't.
Our guest today is Lauren Benoit. Lauren is a PhD student at the University of Saskatchewan and studying biological nitrification inhibitors of wheat with Curtis Posniak.
In order for the industry to get better, I think we have to believe that it can be better. Like, if we get too cynical and if we don't like the way things are and we kind of just get a little complacent with it, we're never going to have stronger networks or stronger relationships. But, in order for us to kind of hit a point where we have really strong grower networks or really strong research ecosystems, we have to believe that we're capable of doing that, which I think we absolutely are.
Lauren brought some much needed optimism to the studio. Here is our reflection on why believing in change is actually the hardest part of the work.
Yeah, that's a great comment. Sort of getting stuck in the ways, and change does take some energy.
Oh yeah,
when I really think about it.
Yeah,
like we talked about, like lots of new ideas, but the energy to put them into practice and to think about, okay, this is the idea. What's the process that we're that we can implement this, and then it goes back to extension too, and communications and new ideas are better ways of doing things. Rarely do we just stop. Okay, are we effective? Or how do we do things differently to be more effective? Let's take 2 days and we're going to brainstorm.
Yeah.
And then let's reevaluate everything that we're doing.
Yeah.
That is hard to do. Interrupting your regular schedule to do that with the potential outcome of a complete change in the system. But it's kind of exciting and inspiring. Does it scare you, or how does it make you feel at the thought of doing that, either on your own farm, your own business, or with, say, one of the grower associations?
Like that kind of analysis?
Yeah.
It's scary, but it's also exciting. I fully appreciate how valuable that is. It's hard to measure business is one thing, right?
Yeah.
That's, in some ways cut and dry, although that's an oversimplification. But in, let's say, communications, the effectiveness of certain approaches is so hard to measure.
It's so hard to measure. Yeah.
So hard to measure. And I find what I find challenging, to be brutally honest, is like, so you have clients come to us and ask us for that kind of analysis, or how do you measure success? And I find that I can talk about it in a way that I begin to doubt myself, right? Like I can almost become a little bit like, silver tongued about it, right? Like to really, really sell it, but in a way that's like, I at the end of it, I'm like, I don't know if that's true, right? Like I can make a pitch, but it's like, I don't know. I mean, you see it right now, to tie this to something kind of very current, is a lot of skepticism about social media in general, right?
Yeah.
So how do you walk people through that?
Mm-hmm.
How do you talk about the effectiveness of this stuff without sounding like you're kind of just like a soft science pitch for right? And I don't I don't know the answer, right? Like it's a hard one.
Just before we leave Lauren, because we're going to move on to the next one, I think one idea that just, and again, not easy, but Lauren comes in with a whole bunch of energy. She just came out of the Nuffield Scholar,
Yes,
and then how do you sit down and say, okay, you've got energy. We've been doing this for 30 years. Let's think about our business system or our organizational system. How do we tap into that energy, that exuberance, and perhaps think of a different way of doing things? Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Our guest is Sabrina Parrish, who's an associate professor in anthropology at the University of Calgary.
We also saw increasingly not just social media, but for example, electronic media, podcasting becoming a part of producers' daily operations. They're like, yeah, I like switch on YouTube, get on my Combine, and have at it. I think that it does feel like something is shifting in the media environment as well. And I would say, again, like more broadly, the knowledge networks that are supporting producers in their everyday lives, whether it is agronomists, whether it's traditional farm media, as important as it once was. I think these are all, there's some indication that things are changing, and this is something we need to think about much more and understand in a better perspective.
Sabrina really opened our eyes to how knowledge networks are shifting. Let's jump into our conversation on what that means for the future of extension.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We kind of were just talking a bit about that, and that we're not about the media generally, but just how connecting with farmers and whether social media was the right tool. We had all high hopes for it, but it seems to have lost some of its steam.
Well, and this idea that I liked how Sabrina framed the conversation. These knowledge networks are changing, and just I don't know. For me, it just paints an interesting visual, and I think she's right. Like the use of like that whole system has changed a lot, like from even 10 years ago, right? Like it's no longer just Western producer publishes an article on certain practice, and then it gets read and it adopted or whatever, right? Or even let's say 10 years ago, where it's put on social feed and someone views it. You now have like just this battery of other approaches that I would say you and I don't even know about, right? Or participate in.
What were you thinking of?
Well, like I think a lot of young farmers are using like WhatsApp in ways that are, we use it a bit, but they use it a lot.
Snapchat?
Maybe.
Well, when I asked the university students what social media they use YouTube to learn stuff and Snapchat to communicate.
Yeah.
Still, which seems, I don't know if Snapchat's been around for a while, but they still use it.
Yeah. But it's interesting. Like they develop these networks, they communicate with their friends. They're really, I think, agile at creating these groups.
Yeah.
These groups my gut would be in various mediums, in various formats, be it on like, creating messaging groups on just a messaging app on your phone or WhatsApp or whatever they find through Twitch. Like there are these.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And
But
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like the media's using a print media as a way to reach people, and it went down, and then maybe it's coming up again. That was one of the comments you made a month ago or so.
And I stand by that one
for
sure. Yeah.
But Ag Days is still well attended. But people are interested in local farm tours, that kind of thing. There are just fewer and fewer farmers. Like, so if we were thinking like, what's going on? Like our readership has gone like this. Well, there's actually a lot fewer farmers than there were a decade ago, and obviously 100 years ago. But steady decline in the number of active decision makers as well in agriculture.
Yeah, and I think, like I do think if we're going to take ag communications seriously and extension seriously, studying those knowledge networks is really, really important. Like what are people doing? How are they?
Yeah.
How are they? How and where are they creating these networks?
Yeah.
And it's not just a few things anymore.
Yeah.
It's a lot of things.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So our guest today is Owen Roberts, Senior Advisor of Strategic Communications for Grain Farmers of Ontario. Approach also to a live, like to a speech or a presentation, is just begin with some sort of anecdote. Get the audience, warm up the audience with a real kind of experience. Yeah.
Yes, a people experience, because I find people still like to read about people. And I mean, when you think about what we've talked about today, it's these are people talking, right?
Owen hit the mark on the importance of putting people front and center in our communications. Here's our reflection on why that's harder than it sounds, and it definitely is. Yeah. I never like hearing myself talk, but or watching myself, but people always like reading about people. Like there's something that's like, at the end of the day, are we overthinking all of this?
Yeah.
All of this communication stuff? Because that is 100% true. Right? You think of like our local papers here, like in the Winkler, the Pembina Valley, right? And it's just, you could take a picture of just some random family and just write about them and put their picture on the front page, and that's going to get tons of views.
Yeah.
If readership, those metrics are important, that'll get read, because they'll read it, they'll share it with their friends and relatives, and then everybody else who knows them will be like, "Oh, I know that person.
Yeah.
That's Bob and Linda from down the street. You read that piece about them? Turns out, oh, that's super interesting. Yeah. Linda's a mechanic. She likes working with old VWs. That's pretty cool, right? But so he's not wrong, right?
No.
And are we getting it wrong in ag communications?
And that not focusing on the people and what they're doing and the challenges that they're having. And
are we not writing about? Are we not communicating about people enough? Like, is that are we taking people kind of out of the?
Well, it comes back to the science, and we talked about this earlier. Science communications is not about people at all.
Right.
Like, in fact, if there were no people involved in science communications, I think the journals would be really happy about that. But,
that's right.
but at the end of the day, we want to get to know the scientist and again what the challenges were and what their outcomes were and just a real conversation about how we might use their results in a way that creates behavior change. Yeah,
I mean, and that's why we created the Extensionists.
Yeah,
right? It was born out of that.
Yeah, that's right.
That desire to focus on people instead of the science. the people behind the science.
It's one of those things that sounds so simple and straightforward when you say it out loud.
Yeah, but I'm sure for Canola Digest, I'm sure the metrics would tell the same story, right?
But again, we don't have metrics. It's hard to measure
that
kind of stuff. Unless you do another survey, which farmers are sick of surveys.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Or they or they don't answer honestly, just to be able to.
How many surveys a year do you do?
Me?
Yeah. Dozens?
Average between 1 and 2.
A year.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But I know farmers who do
We
them.
get onto lists and
Well, like Stratus
Yeah.
they'll pay you like $10 or whatever.
Okay.
So like they'll fudge their answers so that they get to do the survey, so they can get that
oh yeah.
get money.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's great.
Our guest today is Dean Jenkinson, and Dean is a well-known Canadian comedian and did a lot of work with CBC over the years, and so you might know him from there. And he's also now artistic director of the Winnipeg Comedy Festival.
But I think like everything else in the world, right, it's all getting the reps in, right? And you know, every night you get up and you're working on it, and in a perfect world, you know, the image I have in my head is like getting on stage and doing your jokes every night is like putting your blade on the sharpening stone. But if you're doing it wrong, or you're not doing it thoughtfully, you're not going to end up with a sharper blade. You can just dull your blade down to nothing, right? Because you're just getting up and saying it, and you're not really connecting with it, and you're not, and your act becomes something that's kind of calcified, and you no longer connect with it. It's just words you say from night to night to night, and you lose a connection with it, and it becomes stale and dated, and you know, your takes are all very 15 years old and kind of cringy, and you're just completely unaware, because all this stuff used to work, and you just get up and you say it and you say it and you say it and you say it, and every night it gets less and less and less potent.
That metaphor about sharpening the blade was a season favorite. Here is our deeper dive into what that practice actually looks like for us. Yeah, that.
Wow. It's good to hear that one again.
Yeah. What's your takeaway from that?
Well, I mean, I've seen a lot of terrible presentations, and why I was really quite keen to talk to Dean is because I think comedians, I mean, they practice, they polish, they work on the crowd work, making connections, but he also kind of shattered that illusion in a way, and that he said comedians, like anybody else, can kind of just slip into a routine, and then when you get hard into that routine, it really loses its effectiveness.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you stay fresh? It's almost something you need to write on a Post-it and put on top of your desk and remind yourself every year
to stay fresh.
Is this, am I excited about this?
Yeah.
If I'm not excited, then who else is going to be?
When I like the idea of like this that skate sharpening analogy, where you do it every day and you sharpen the skate, but if you're doing it wrong, like, so this idea of like, so you know, I go on about practice at times, and basically it's me telling myself that I need to practice more, but that's why I get excited about it. But you still have to practice correctly.
Yeah.
Right. So you could do the same thing over and over again, and you might be practicing. So practicing in and of itself isn't the value. Right? It's actually you have to be able to practice the right thing.
Yeah.
Right. So I like that. I really liked, because it just it adds to it. It's not just the act of, you know, standing in front of the mirror and reciting your speech to become a better public speaker. If your speech sucks and you're doing that every day, you're actually doing something damaging, right?
That's right.
Or at the very least, it's just not fresh as fresh as it could be.
Yeah.
So,
well, that reminds me of these dance lessons that I've been taking with my friend, and she.
Are you just gonna gloss over the fact that you're taking dance lessons?
Well, no, it's fine. So, but the instructor said exactly that. It's like, okay, these are the basic steps. Don't try to elaborate or embellish or whatever that word is. Just do these steps, because then once you got the steps down, then you can start to do other stuff. But so we're just like this repetition of like, okay, do, and then just over and over again until you got the steps, and then we can have some fun with it. Because I had this tendency to get my whole body into like the dancing, and you're like, no, like your upper body should be fairly rigid, and then you can, like, your feet should be moving. So he said, so it's like right on. He's like, Jay, like cut that out.
like these flourishes
Yeah,
that you would add to it. Or I could do this, and I can add this.
But practicing, my point is that like you need to practice the actual useful part of the skill. Don't practice stuff that's wrong or that's going to get you down a path that you can't get yourself out of.
Well, I'm looking at my guitar in the corner here right now. I can see the dust underneath the fretboard. But when I took lessons during COVID, and it was the same thing. So it would just be like these chords, these kind of things that I would do over and over again. And I just got so bored of it, right? But my instructor just kept saying the same thing as your dance instructor. Just like you need to familiarize yourself with these things. But I just, makes me want to actually go get back to it because, appreciating the value of that repetition.
Yeah.
Which, that was a good one. I mean, and like what comedians do, like to stand up in front of an audience, in front of a group of people and tell jokes, to me is just like the pinnacle of like bravery.
Yeah, knowing that we're probably going to bomb.
Yeah.
Or some of them are just going to fall flat. But those few little laughs here and there is like the fuel that keeps you going. But bombing would be a scary scenario for me. Our guest today, we're very honored to have Honorable Rob Black as Senator for Ontario, also chair of the Standing Senate Committee on Agriculture and Forestry.
It was the second day in sitting, my second day as a senator sitting in the chamber, and one of my colleagues called me over. We had a vote for bells, and there was 30 minutes that we had to wait for the vote. And he called me over and said, "Senator Black, you can just be here 3 days a week. Like we really sit Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and we all get paid the same amount. If you've got extra as a chair, you get a little bigger stipend and things like that. But this senator said, Senator Black, we all get paid the same. You only have to be here 3 days a week. I can see that you're going to get bored if you don't, and that was 2 days in, if you don't find your passion and run with it." And obviously, ag is my background, rural community development, and I have run with it. And I like to be busy. I'm proud of the work that happens that I've been able to undergo here in the Senate of Canada.
Senator Black's passion for rural development is infectious. Here is our take on why finding your why is the only way to avoid just checking boxes.
I like the passion. Like you kind of need that.
You do.
You don't want just to slide into a senator job and show up 3 days a week and check a box and be done. But
no.
What's the takeaway there?
Well, I mean, I was thinking earlier about an earlier clip in this process, and I forget whose clip it was already, but this idea of like finding, just kind of the passion, like, and that's a really kind of what you just said. That's a really good point, and Robert Black is Senator Robert Black's very like that he talked about that as a really neat thing. And I wonder how much of our ag comms in general is like, how many of these researchers that work for Ag Canada or for wherever they work for have a strong passion or a strong reason for being there. Let's say like they grew up on a farm and they saw their parents struggle with a certain aspect of production, and that kind of spurred their interest in pursuing it, or like a strong kind of why, right? Like why they did it, right? That kind of anchors there. And maybe this is something that we could guide our interviews towards, like, what was that? We probably do ask it, but like, what was that strong reason why you went into it? That anchoring thing. And that isn't necessarily what Senator Black's talking about here, but just that passion's become very important. And he's such a champion. He's such a people know him as somebody who is passionate about soil health. Yeah. How about you?
And well, he's inspired so many other people to talk about soil health. The soil health conversation that's going on in Canada right now is sort of flying off in all directions. That's what it seems like. And so how do we actually figure out what really matters at the farm level? That's our next challenge.
I think, go ahead.
No, I was totally going to change it to the passion part of the thing. So I don't, were you going to have a comment on soil health?
Mm-hmm. I mean, just that, I wonder with that is how much of it is because it is a relatively, I mean, I don't know how new of a conversation it is, but maybe hypothetically, maybe it's a scenario where like it is new. So it's just kind of, it is convoluted right now. And it's just kind of necessarily so in terms of like the historical trajectory of this conversation, right? And that it will eventually come to some sort of clarity.
But
right?
ultimately, it has to land on a farmer audience that actually cares and wants to do something. Like on your farm, does soil health enter into?
No,
yeah, exactly.
No.
Like, is it something you think about even yearly, once a year?
I mean, yeah. I mean, like for sure, it does. You know, I got my field soil tested, and it becomes it's a factor, but nowhere near as important, as prominent a conversation topic as the industry is making it out to be right now, right? So it is out of sync with
which I think is going to be a problem unless the language starts resonating.
Yeah.
And right now, I would say you're right on the money. It's out of sync with the farm audience.
But I do think as long as there's people who are focused on that, like what we're talking about right now, like making sure that it gets back in sync, that it will.
Yeah.
I think that pendulum will swing, will find its center.
It kind of goes back to the Rupp Caraveau conversation from earlier, in that sometimes it's one person with a vision and saying, hear me, like this is why this is important. And then you're like, oh, okay, now I get it.
Yeah.
Because now you're speaking in a way that, you're marketing it to me.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Like you're saying it in a way, you're telling the story in a way that connects with me. But right now there's no connection.
Yeah.
But that will come,
I think
especially with passion, like Senator Black.
Well, and it's a sense of like with Rupp also, like these things will take time. Like that answer, putting it in sync with farmers or making it sync up with farmers, that's not happening tomorrow.
No.
Right. That will be that's a fight that's going to feel at some points, I'm guessing, futile and kind of failing before it becomes successful.
Yeah.
But it'll take someone to see the chorus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, exciting. All right, let's move on to the next one.
Our guest today is media personality Des Daniels.
And by the third page, I find that if there's something that I'm seeking resolution for, there'll be some kind of insight. It's kind of magic. Yeah. Like if you're trying to noodle through a problem, 3 pages, that's what they talk about. Yeah. And it really is kind of shocking. By the end, literally by like the middle towards the bottom 2/3 of that last page, it's like, oh, like it's really bizarre. So that kind of, sometimes there's like, okay, I can do that. Or, I can think about this in a different way or feel differently about it.
Do you think companies or organizations could use that as an exercise before a meeting or something?
Wow,
or
why not?
Yeah, like just so write down everything you want to accomplish with this board this year. And
make
then,
everybody write 3 pages before you start the meeting. Yeah, it's an option.
I'm just thinking of any sort of tool to get the creative juices going or communicate in different ways.
Des gave us a practical tool with that 3-page writing exercise. We had to test that theory. Here is our discussion on why and how it actually works. I like that a lot. Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, me too.
Such a great tip.
Yeah, it is some sort of exercise, eh?
Yeah.
Before a meeting or before a meeting where you want that kind of engagement from somebody to have. We should do that. Actually, we should do that for our training.
That's a great idea. So just take 3 minutes and write down what do you need and what do you want to get out of this? Or do we keep it more broad than that and just say, what are your challenges? Or
Yeah.
And then after, like she said, I mean, sometimes you need to get into page 3 before you're really getting somewhere in terms of exploring your mind and your needs and creating a concrete thought.
Or it's like you give somebody a scenario, say even just like has nothing to do with ag extension, but it's like kind of the beginnings of a fictional story, and then you say, okay, everybody take 15 minutes and write the end of this.
Yeah.
Where does it go? And then it's just a way of like thinking differently and then getting them to come. Yeah, I don't know. I think I think there's something to that. That was really neat.
That was good. I'm glad we saw that clip again because, sometimes you have these great conversations and then you can't remember what exactly it was you talked about.
For sure.
But Des had a few good ones. But I remember that now that we see the clip, I do remember that now. So how do we put that into practice in terms of generating ideas or making sure that a meeting comes to some sort of resolution that is satisfying for the participants, and maybe that exercise to kick off would be worth doing.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'd be worthwhile to think about like I'd say like a dozen different exercises that you could use.
Yeah,
and only using one per meeting, but like just have kind of this rotation of different ones, right? That you get people started with something that makes them a bit uncomfortable or is a bit out of the ordinary. To get those creative juices.
Well, this comes up a lot, is that we have all these ideas, and everybody does. Which ones do you chase after? And sometimes it's just a matter of facilitating the action. So let's put it on our agenda, give it a try once, see how it goes, and if it goes well, then the people who participate take it back to their organizations, and it becomes one of those things that is a great ideas generator or thought synthesizer. Ooh, that's a hard thing to say. Thought synthesizer.
I don't even want to try it. Thought synthesizer. So what I also really liked is this idea of which I think we might be talking about right now, but this like, so you write 3 pages, and at the last, like your last line is going to be the one that's the most important. So you're a writer, you get this. I think you write, more often than I do right now. So you're probably better at kind of coming to a page and kind of starting with your lead. Not that it doesn't change after you're done, but I know that when I say I haven't written for a while, then I bury the lead. For sure. When I'm kind of getting back into it, then on that last paragraph of the 3rd page will be the most important thing. And I think one of Des's points there was that the lead is often buried, and the process of writing those 3 pages is so valuable to get at the nugget that you didn't even know was a nugget before you started that process, right? So how important that process is for, say, a group of people before a meeting, because they don't even know what they want to talk about or what's on their mind until that last paragraph of the 3rd page where it's like, oh yeah, that is the thing, right? So
it reminds me of Warren Buffett's 5 Whys. I don't know whether Warren Buffett invented this. I might be attributing it to the wrong person, but the gist is the same. So if someone comes to you and says, I've got a problem, and you say, well, why is that a problem? Because this. Well, why are you doing that? Because of this. And then like, why? And so you just dig deep until you find like, oh yeah, okay, this is the nut of the problem.
Yeah.
It's not this bigger thing, but we finally whittled down to if I could change this, then it kind of moves back up into a different pathway.
Yeah, I mean, I think you surprise yourself in that process sometimes too, right? Where
I'm just thinking like I remember having this conversation with my colleagues once about weeds. At least, or it's just like herbicide-resistant weeds. Well, why are herbicide-resistant weeds a problem? Like blah blah blah. Well, then why are farmers doing this? Oh, okay, then blah blah blah. And then you get okay. I can't remember what the problem. But you like realize okay, so everything kind of trickles down from this issue. Yeah, Okay.
We chastise kids you're like a petulant child, right? It's like, why? But yet now we're adults and we're saying how important that is to keep asking until you get at the core. Anyways, that was a very interesting kind of like look back on the season, and just reminder of how how much content we talk about in the course of a podcast season. Hey,
conversation, move on, and you realize that we need to just sit and dwell on that for a little while and think about the actions we just talked about, because again, it comes back to the people. I mean, these are all people with great ideas, and sometimes we forget how great they are, and then we move on and it's gone.
Yeah. Anyways, that was a great
exercise.
There's the word. It will do. Yeah, exercise.
Great practice.
Yes.
Hey there, listeners. If you're enjoying the conversations here on The Extensionists, you will probably love to get our newsletter.
Yeah, it's the best way to stay connected with us, with Jay and myself, yours truly. I'm excited about the newsletter, to be honest with you, because I think...
Why are you excited about
so many of our guests have...
Sorry. Why are you excited about it?
Say that differently, Jay. So many of our guests they say so many things of interest, right? And I feel like the newsletter will be a great way to share that with our listeners.
Like quick take-homes?
Yeah.
Summaries?
Yeah, absolutely.
One-liners?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think about each guest, we could probably write a whole bunch of articles from each of our guests, right? So to give our newsletter subscribers like summaries of the key takeaways of these things, plus information on upcoming guests, all the listeners have to do is go to theextensionists.com and follow the prompts to sign up for the newsletter. I think it'll be great.
Hey, Toban, did you like that trip down memory lane?
I did. Did you?
I did, yeah. It was, it's a useful exercise because I forget all the great stuff we talk about.
Yeah.
Did we say yet that you should write a book?
You did.
Yeah. You could get ChatGPT to write that book for us.
So it's been a great season. So we want to get into that for sure. But do you ever get Chat to write stuff for you? I'm not asking you to confess to submitting things that you've gotten Chat to or AI to write, but for fun, have you done it?
Yeah, I did it for fun because I asked it to write something in the voice of Jay Whetter.
Sure.
That really sucked.
Yeah.
Because it did it.
Yeah.
But I haven't used that
for
any official capacity.
Yeah. I'm
How about you?
Yeah, I mean I have. So again, not submitted, but I've certainly got it to do that. I'm curious. I don't want to get too philosophical now in our last, but I'm curious about what this is going to do to the writing discipline. And I'm not gonna. I try not to be too skeptical of these things because there's always so many skeptics out there. I always try to kind of counter that, but I am a little. I'm a little skeptical.
So, just as a promo for season 3, we're going to record our 15 seconds of each of our voices, and we're going to ask our guest to talk for 15 seconds. And then we're going to give ChatGPT a book that the guest read. And we're going to say, now that you know our voices, just create a 1-hour episode talking about that book.
Oh, geez. And just see what it does.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You could do that quite easily.
Yeah. No, I know. It's so,
anyway,
it's so true.
What I find fascinating, and I don't know how often this is happening, but like at university, what do you call them? Convocations? No.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? So they'll mention AI and then everyone will boo.
Yeah.
So I think
that right?
the upcoming generation is either afraid of it or just annoyed with it or just can't stand the thought of a whole career driven by AI.
So season 3 is not going to be AI driven. It's actually going to be Jay and I in the studio, in a new studio.
Yeah.
Doing
real conversations with real people.
Real conversations with real people about real stuff. And it'll be really interesting. So I'm reeling with excitement. No.
Oh,
geez.
I'm just going to let you wheel.
Wheel.
Free reeling.
But no, it's going to
Real
be great.
cringy.
I'd like to think that. Do you think we're getting better? Like, so this is going to be season 3. Do you think we're on a trajectory of just like improvement?
Definitely season 2 improved on season 1.
Yes.
I'm not saying the guests, but just I think we elevated our conversations.
So here's something, right? So we are practicing because we're doing it.
Mhm.
We've been doing it, for X amount of episodes now, between 2 full seasons. But are we practicing correctly?
Oh, yeah.
Are we sharpening the skate in the right way?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I do think about that. So I think, just for the audience, should you and I go to get some training on being podcast guests or on speaking in a podcast or whatever? Do you think about
Getting to the point and stuff like that?
Sure.
Elocution lessons. Actually, after the Ag Days live experience, which was the first time we ever did that, Merle Massey said to me afterwards that we didn't project.
Oh, you mentioned
Remember,
that.
Des Daniels, who had a whole career in radio
Projected.
and TV, projected. But you and I were used to our sitting on a couch talking into excellent mics.
Yes.
Voice.
Right.
So I think some lessons in projecting, if we ever do another live episode, would be good.
I wouldn't mind pursuing some professional development opportunities for podcasting, because we shouldn't assume that we
didn't write the book on podcasting.
No, 100%. I sort of think in order to kind of have an edge in a market that is basically saturated with middle-aged white dudes, maybe we could do ourselves a favor by doing some skills development.
Yeah, exactly.
But just as we just kind of the privilege of just it's us, of course we're interesting. Right?
Yeah, that's right. On that note, season 3. Whew!
It's gonna be a doozy.
It is.
No, it is gonna
Just
be great.
Can you imagine the skills we're gonna have as we come into season 3 with all of our professional development?
Yeah. Skills with a Z.
Thank you very much to our listeners. Obviously, we can't do this without you. Thank you so much to our sponsors.
Absolutely.
And Toban, you're a good friend, not just a podcast co-host.
Yeah,
this
likewise,
has been
Jay.
fun. I've
Absolutely.
enjoyed getting to know you
Yeah.
over the past 2 years.
It's been 2 years.
Yeah.
This is wow.
How many
You're
does it actually
springing all
feel-
this? You're springing all this
how many does
sentiment
it
on me,
feel
Jay.
like?
I'm I'm going to start
How many
crying.
does it feel like?
Should we hug?
5?
I feel like we should
Yeah.
hug.
Okay, well, on to season 3.
No.
But is it enough?
You're just going to end with that?
I don't know. Did you want to say something nice to me?
Yeah, for sure. It's been great doing it with you as well, of course. What did you say about 5 years? Have you been friends for 5 years?
At least, yeah.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. Well, it's
We
been awesome.
peaked about 3 years ago.
Yeah, it's true. We peaked about 3 years ago. And then some rocky bits, some plateaus.
We're looking forward to turning it around in season 3.
Yeah. Oh, this relationship on life support. Oh my gosh, that's very funny. I hope that stays in. Oh, that's so good.
All right.
That's gold.
We are the Extensionists. I'm Jay Whetter.
I'm Toban Dyck, and
Till
see you in
season
season
3. This has been a Burr Forest Group production.
Jay, did you know that the podcast couldn't happen with the hard work of the people behind the scenes?
And I've got their names right here. They are Abby Wall, producer and editor, Ashley Robinson, researcher, and Michelle McMullen, marketer.